Five, four, three, two, one.
All right, so welcome to our final review of the evening, a game called Lightfall. You might remember we actually covered this game back in October. We had a representative from Bishop Games on the program, and here we are, some 6, 7 months later, and it's out. In fact, it came out last Thursday. We actually got a pre-release code. And yeah, this was the main focus of my game playing this week. And at any rate, for those who don't remember or who didn't hear our interview, Lightfall is a 2D puzzle platformer. Stop me if you've ever heard one of these. In fact, yeah, if I can boil down my review to just one word in regard to Lightfall, it's typical. Like, that's not to denigrate what Bishop Games have done here, because it is a very solid game. It is a very good game. It's just not as special or unique as they would have me believe. You know, that, that's unfortunate, but I can't deny that games like, say, Ori and the Blind Forest or Night Sky exist, and doing this whole kind of Twilight aesthetic has been done before on the indie scene.
Yeah, I'm sure every game developer loves to review their games in a vacuum, but
yeah, it's like we don't operate on that thought process, you know. So, like I said, I'm not. What I'm saying here is, it's not bad. It's just, yeah, I've even seen the shadow thing done in a game called Nilhumbra. So its aesthetics are sadly kind of in line with what you would expect in an indie title. Like, I guarantee you, if you see one iota of footage of this game, you're going to be like, yeah, that looks like an indie game. It's like, it may not, like this is kind of like the current aesthetic of indie titles. Either that or the high contrast black and white stuff. Limbo and Insight and all that stuff.
yeah, to be fair, the style was more popular like 4 or 5 years ago.
I'm like, I think this style is actually more popular now than it was 4 or 5 years ago. Like, but a style it is, and yeah, and the game does use it pretty effectively. It's just, I can't really praise the visual beyond, the really good art direction they have going on here. The individual flourishes rather than the overall aesthetic. Just kind of what, you just kind of what happened in the industry. And but it goes beyond aesthetics. The music is pretty, the soundtrack is pretty indie-tastic, if you will. A lot of strings, woodwinds, mellow music, ambient sounds in certain levels. More excitement-based tracks during action scenes. Once again, it's all solid stuff, but this is probably going to be a recurring motif. It's, it's been done. Like, but I suppose we should talk about the most unique facet of the game, and that's the shadow core, i.e., that box platformer that you can summon at any time. And how do I put this? Uh, its most unique mechanic, not even that stands out all that much. And I put that more on the design of the game itself more than anything else. Like, the concept is very unique. Like, I don't think I've seen another game that has you summon your own platform at will.
Maybe
It's just,
Trine, but that had limitations.
yeah, Trine was kind of doing a different thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the things that you use the platform for are all what you'd expect a platform. It's like you have to jump long distances. You have to get to high places. Sometimes you have to use the block to blockade lasers. And you can only summon your block 4 times before you run out of summons. Like, or I guess up to 5 summons, because like if you summon to place a block, that doesn't actually count as a summon. So you can use that as an extra summon, and yes, that will become important.
And it like recharges when you're on the ground, I'm guessing.
Yes. Um, you know,
I guess
not
it's
necessarily.
relatively unusual to do multiple. A lot of the games that have things like that have like items that recharge it.
Yeah, but there are no items here. I will say that I did find the fact that this game is actually level based instead of, say, a Metroidvania to be fairly refreshing. If only because I think the Metroidvania style of gameplay is getting really, really played out and stale on the indie scene.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'll go one further, and I think this game is probably best played on the Switch because the levels are fairly short. Like, checkpoints are fairly plentiful, and yeah, it'd be a good game on the go. Let's see. Challenge. The game has a pretty predictable difficulty curve, but I can't say I found myself ever really overly challenged until like the ending chapters. Like when they started to do things like take away your power to use the shadow core, and thus you had to rely on more pure platforming. Admittedly, I was kind of surprised that showed up in like the very end, late game stuff.
They
But
didn't do that kind of stuff early game, or do you like always
no,
have it?
it shows up in Act 4,
Hmm.
like the level before the final encounter. Let's say.
That's odd.
Yeah, like I said, this game isn't all that difficult, and it's not all that long. Like I'd say, first playthrough it'll take about 8 to 10 hours, and not surprisingly, the biggest difficulty challenges is collecting the extra stuff. Um, th- there are two types of collectibles. There are things called memory shards or fragments. They're these you go to these areas where there's this yellow stuff there. You hit the X button, and it'll change into this floating shard of memory that floats around. And what you have to do is you have to get that to the nearest checkpoint, and then you get a bit of background lore. And so, let me tell you about the background lore. It was presented in one of the worst ways I've ever seen, because like the actual formatting was fucking terrible, because it shows up in this large wall of text that has no paragraph breaks.
Oh
Oh,
no.
That's tricky.
Yeah, and you have no control over the scrolling. Yeah, I just kind of lost interest after that.
Hope you were
It's
recording that, friend.
yeah, it's seriously fucking terrible, and I don't know why they did that. Honestly, the worst part of the game. just like I don't know why they didn't just allow you to do it normally. Like, you pause, you go read the lore. It's formatted in a readable format. Yeah, it's honestly baffling. Um, Another thing is penalties are pretty right. The other bit of collecting is actually there are villagers encased in crystal, and you got to smash them out. Like, fairly straightforward stuff there. I'm not exactly sure what you get when you find them all, because I didn't find them all, and I don't know. It's like this is kind of a this was kind of a one and done for me, but it does have a replay value mechanic beyond collecting all the things. And that's speedrun mode, which is, I guess, fairly self-explanatory.
You
It's
gotta
like,
go fast, friend. Gotta go fast.
and that's hooked to worldwide leaderboards, and you challenge yourself against other people's times and all that. Once again, fairly straightforward, but it's good for those who like that kind of thing. Personally, I fucking hate speedrunning and wish it would die, but that's just me. Like,
I mean, to a point, it's a good way of showing skill, I guess.
right. I just hate not going at my own pace. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't like doing it.
Yeah, I'm talking about personally speed running. So, let's see. Uh, Trying to think if there's any other major points to cover, and I don't think so. Like I said, um, it's not the it's not the meatiest indie game around. Like, once again, it's not, say, Ori and the Blind Forest, but it doesn't have to be either. And I did appreciate that you have all your skills laid out at the beginning. Now, that is a bit rarer on the indie scene than perhaps it should be. Right. Anyway, pricing. So this game is pretty typical pricing as well, as it's going to run you $15, $14.99, however you want to quantify that. Of course, it is on sale right now on Steam. I'm not sure if it's on sale on the eShop. Somebody with a Switch is going to have to check that one. But I can tell you on Steam, it's currently 10% off. It's $13.49, which is, a good price for this game. I'd say it's priced appropriately. There is a soundtrack bundle, which is $17.09, or you can get the soundtrack separately for $4.99.
I imagine the soundtrack probably isn't available for the Switch version because Switch
I don't
version.
know. Once again, people with Switches, check that. It's like the DLC is 10% off. It's $4.49 at $4.99 regular price. And
what's the DLC? Is it just like more levels or
soundtrack?
That's just the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think more levels are coming, but I don't recall them talking about their DLC plans at all in the interview. And yeah, the bundle is $17.09. It's 14% off as opposed to 5% off, which means it's usually $19.98. Once again, the bundle is probably your best course of purchase here. As far as the Switch version, let me see if the web eShop has details.
It's saying it's $15 right now.
Yeah, the Switch version is $14.99, and I don't see any DLC for it yet, but maybe it doesn't show up unless you've bought the game, which I haven't.
Yeah, so just in terms of pricing, I'd say go for the Steam version. In terms of actually playing the game, like I said, I think the overall design lends itself more to the Switch than the PC, because the game is fairly segmented and the levels aren't, it's got good handheld design philosophy is what I'm saying. And yeah, it's like overall, to give this an arbitrary numerical score, 7, fairly solid game. A bit on the bland side, all things considered, but nothing egregious. I guess a good but not great game. And unfortunately, it was only one code, so I'm the only one who can chime in on this.
Yeah, I was hoping to be able to pick it up, but I didn't spend the money because I wouldn't have had much time to play it anyway.
So it goes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We are at the mercy of how many codes we are given for a individual game, unless it's free. Then that's why I include free games here, because it ensures that everyone can at least play them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I imagine even if we did have a budget, trying to get everyone a game for every game, if they didn't provide us, that would get expensive fucking quickly.
Especially Bandai Namco games. Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially full price. Like, we don't get a ton of AAA full price games, but
no, but even a game like Lightfall here is $15. I mean, just $15 times 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that's $60 right there. That is that's a AAA title right there, singular. So it adds up. It really does. Anyway, that digression aside, that'll about do it for this installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Coming up on the week ahead. So we originally were supposed to have a Tuesday interview, but that got delayed for various reasons. That's actually been delayed till next month. Unfortunate, but these things happen. And on May 2nd, we might be having John Pickett of Manga Gamer. I say might, so here's the thing. He's gotten caught up in a move. He's actually been moving these past couple of days.
And it's not always possible to do podcast interviews when you're in the middle of moving.
Right. In fact, I never got a response back to my latest messages to him, because that's kind of what happens when you're in a move. So I can't also say we don't have a guest, because he didn't say that he wasn't showing up either. So it's just kind of in limbo right now, to the point where we haven't even gotten codes for the visual novel we plan to cover. That usually happens ahead of time, not here. So I know what we're going to cover. It's gonna this episode is actually going to be a follow-up episode, because Manga Gamer just put out Supipara Part 2, and they've got the house in Fata Morgana. I don't remember the title. Not Lament of Innocence.
That's a Castlevania.
Yeah, it's a so it's a follow-up to 2 visual novels we've covered in the past. And along with the other flotsam and jetsam that we usually cover in these things. But I don't, plus we'd be updating on the whole Kiss for the Pedal situation. Because at the very least, we know what happened now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been resolved from what I know, but we know what happened now. So there's quite a lot there. It's just, I don't know if we're getting to it now, or if it's going to be later on. So, and I don't exactly know when we're going to have an update, other than I'll have to call it on Wednesday. If I don't hear anything from John by Wednesday, we're going with a double topic show. So keep an eye out on our website. MSP. Starship. What is it? MoonhawkStudiosPresents.com. MSP.StarshipMoonhawk.com. And we'll have the requisite update there, because we don't have another show to do in between here and there. So, on that tenuous note, I wish you good gaming.